starts with me in the morning. Like, this is how I want to feel for the day. And it took me some time to get that, but you're unstoppable. Not in business or anything, but in life. Like, you'll just feel unstoppable once you just take care of your boat and stop worrying so much and poking holes everywhere.
Welcome to The Bright Side of Life, a podcast where people share their personal stories of struggles, pain, and grief, but through all of that, they are still able to find the joys in life. Welcome to this week's episode of The Bright Side of Life. I am your host, Melissa Bright, and today I am talking with Tim, who is going to share his story of where he came from to where he is now and everything it took for him to get where he is today. Tim is a successful business owner of a real estate company, but that doesn't always mean things have been easy for Tim. And Tim, thank you so much for being here today. And I know before you get started with your story, you kind of want to share a metaphor to the listeners of the story that you are going to tell today. So go ahead with that and welcome to the show.
First of all, thank you for having me on. We spoke yesterday.
Yes.
And I truly appreciate what you're doing as a human. And I see your journey, and you're going to touch so many people's lives. So
thank you, Tim,
for having me on before I get started. I really appreciate you.
Yep.
So before I unpack my story onto everyone, the metaphor I want to use to kind of keep going back and forth throughout the whole story is I truly believe in my own mind that we're all on like a little tiny boat. Each individual person's in a boat and we're floating around on water, whether you're going towards your goal or you're just hanging out on the water, catching sun, like we're all doing it, right? And so for me, where my story starts is my boat was taking on water and I was drowning, and that's when it really gets going. But we'll get to more of that metaphor after the story, but that's the beginning of it. So
yeah,
you want me to jump right into the good stuff or what?
So I'm going to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself now, where you're from. I already said what you do. Any other little tidbits you want to tell the audience?
So just to get my story across better, I am a married man. I've been happily married for 11 years. I've been with my beautiful wife for 17 years. And believe it or not, which I used to hear this all the time, like it gets better the longer you're with someone. Which I truly love her more every single day. I cherish this woman. So that I want to get that out. And then I have 4 beautiful daughters whom I've shared this story that I was going to be on here today. And I kind of told them my story that I sent to you. And I cried like a baby, and they cried. And I said, I just want you to know that people say, I feel so sorry and they do it in front of my children. Like, I feel so sorry for you having daughters. It must be so tough. And I looked at them after I told that story and I'm like, you guys are the biggest blessing that's ever happened in my life. Like, if I had 4 boys, I'd be running around like a maniac. Like, it has expanded who I am as a human being so much to learn about girls and teach them and grow them. So, that's a little tidbit of what else. I'm just totally a family guy. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I just want, like, from my story's point, when we hit rock bottom, all I wanted to do was provide. And we're finally to the point in our life where we're actually providing for our family, and we're comfortable while we're doing it. And we can finally give back, and it's life is really good right now. So
awesome. That is great to hear. Well, now we're going to shift a little bit,
okay.
and we are going to start talking. Tell me where your story starts and kind of why your story starts where it does.
Okay. So if I cry, can we take this out of the video?
Nope.
Dang it. All right. So where I wanted to start my story, which I thought would make the biggest impact up to everyone, because I really want to help people out. So in 2012, I'm in my first house off First Street here in Pacific, and we get the call from the bank that they're taking our house. It's gone. Like, there's nothing else you can do. Struggling in construction for a long time, and the bank's just like, finally, we can't do it no more. We're taking your house. So I, right there, never been to church before that point. drop to my knees and I pray to God. And I'm like, you have got to help me provide for my family. And I remember what I was wearing. I remember what door I was looking at, my daughter's door that said her name on it when I started doing this. So damn it. Hold on. I'm going to reel this back in.
You're
Get
good.
back in there. Get back in there. So
You're good.
that's where it started for me in 2012, asking God to help me provide. And if I keep going in the direction that I plan on going, because I'm not stopping, it's going to be the beginning of my book, because I'm going to write a book about the crap that I went through and survived to get to that point. So that's the very beginning of my stories. It started in 2012 for me.
Okay. So at that point you had lost your house, and now you're feeling, what else can I do? I have to turn to God at this point. What
Yep.
other challenges back during that time were you facing?
No, I mean, I was in a great mental space in that time. I really didn't know myself very well. I just knew, because I was a hard worker. I'll just keep working hard. Things will work out. Keep your head down. Work hard was our motto in the laborers union. So I was just thick-headed. Like, I'm just going to keep my head down and find some work and make it work. And I just trust the voice inside of me. And that led me to becoming a personal trainer. And I went from $27 an hour down to $8.25 an hour. And my loving wife is like, you can do this. You're going to do great. Like, anybody else would be like, you're an idiot. Stop. We need to make more money. Don't go down this path. But she's like, chase your dreams. I know you're going to be great. And it didn't turn out well, because, money just got worse. So, should I continue from here to go further, or you want me to rewind? Because I'll talk all day.
Well, I guess we can start with, at that point, so we're talking like 2012, 2013, you're a personal trainer. What were some of your like personal goals, I guess, for your family? Because I think as a family unit that either, the mom and dad always have like goals, like, oh, we want to buy this house, we want to build, we want to do this. So what were some of your family goals at that point in your life?
So like I said, I'm a sucker for my kids. I want to go to work, provide enough money for my children, and to be able to hang out with my wife. And I want my wife pays all the bills. I want her to have a smile on her face. So that was my goal. Like, I have to figure out something to do to make her happy, to make her not stressed out about our finances. We've already lost the house. And I just want to make it home to play with my kids every day. That's what was going through my head at that time.
Yeah. So tell me how you found real estate and how you came into that.
Whew. So I was working for a garage door company, which I absolutely hated. He wasn't the boss, but he was an alcoholic, and he's just bad mouthing me every day. And I was feeling even more down than ever. And by the grace of God, this lady comes into my house, and I'm in my kitchen cooking, because I'm a big cooker, and I'm not paying attention. But she says something to my wife about real estate. And I'm like, wait a second. I turn around, I point my spatula at her. I'm like, you sell real estate? How much money did you make? And she's like, oh, $60,000. I'm like, okay, if I make $60,000, I'll never have to worry another day in my life. That's what I need to do to survive. Because in construction, on my best year, I made 60,000. So that gave me the opportunity to get into real estate. And that's really where the beginning of it started for me.
Okay. So tell me about your first years in real estate. What
Okay.
the ups, downs, good, bad, ugly.
Yeah. Okay. So again, being a construction worker by trade, it was very hard for me to read contracts and understand them. So I did the mentality, put my head down, go to work. I have a goal. I want to make my wife happy, and I want to play with my kids. So 2014, my first year, I made a whopping $12,000. Took me 5 months to get my first sale. Then it transitioned into 2014, and I'm like, I want to make more money. $30,000. I know it's going to eventually happen. I ended up making 24,000 in 2014. And this story is not about money, but the beginning was a struggle. So
Right.
second year I made 24, and I'm still being super positive. We're renting at the time because, you know, we still can't afford a house. You got to have 2 good years of income to, you know, in your own business to be able to buy a house. So I'm like, third year is going to be our good year. And then that's where the story kind of gets crazy for me. In 2015, I had a goal of what I wanted to do. And I'm like, if I don't hit X amount of dollars in a certain time, I quit. Like, and I think it was June. If I don't hit X amount of dollars for the goal that I said, I'm done. Like, I'm going to go back to construction. This headache isn't worth it. I know I can make $60,000 and be home to see my family every day.
Right.
And then that's where things kind of got crazy. So trying to buy a house, which we still can't. And the lender says that on top of all the stress I'm going through, I literally had a nervous breakdown, which I didn't even know what one of these things were. I'm driving to go see my wife at work because I'm so scared right now of what's going on. I'm like, if I just get to her, she'll tell me everything's okay and it's going to be good. So I'm driving down the road and my eyes, like, and I can't explain it, like rainbows, like the colors in front of me turn into rainbows as they're going across. And I'm like, this is freaking me out. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't even know. So I go to the ambulance house and they're like, you either got a tumor or you're having a nervous breakdown. I'm like, well, now I'm having a nervous breakdown because I might have a tumor. Like this is too, yeah, like, I'm scared now. So they take me to the hospital. A friend of mine at the time takes me to the hospital. My wife meets me there. They put an IV in me of Benadryl. I guess it's going to calm me down from whatever's going on. And then my phone rings and somebody says, I want to buy this $350,000 house right now. I even have my phone on me in the hospital because I'm going to make it. But so I'm like, I got to go. And my wife's like, you can't go. You got an IV in you. I'm like, watch me. IV out, full of Benadryl. I stumble out of the hospital, get in my car, drive from St. Clair Hospital to Lonedell. And again, by the grace of God, I stayed awake because Benadryl jacks me up. Like I'm banging my head on the window. I'm like, stay awake, stay awake. I don't tell anybody, my clients, what's going on. They don't need to know this. I just need to sell this house so I can get by. And I did, sold the house. And that gave me enough belief in myself that this still might be something that I might want to stay in and not quit my job. So, yeah, I stuck with it from that point on. That might have been me. Sorry.
Do you have a Mac?
I do.
So do I. So it's either one of ours.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's when you had your mental breakdown. What did you do after that? I guess, did you like reflect on that? Like, I got to change something, like this pressure or whatever it is that is going on that gave me a mental breakdown. Did you evaluate that and try to figure something out? Did you take any steps for that?
Negative. My thought was keep going. Get to a certain dollar amount and you'll be completely happy and safe. So I'm going to go. I'm going to make enough money to the $60,000 that I was after, and then everything will be fine. Don't worry about what happened. You're strong enough to take this. Keep going. So no, I should have done some self-reflection at that point and realized what was going on. But all I knew is I wanted to go forward.
Yeah.
So I did not stop. I did not seek help in a way that I should and reach out to friends and family. I'm just like, I just have to get here. I just carried that burden on myself, moving forward from there.
Would you say that you were happy at that point?
No. Nope.
Okay.
No happiness. I'm sorry. I did have happiness. I enjoy my family very much and my friends. And I knew it was a process. I was starting to become impatient in that process. That's what got me. I became, hey, this needs to happen right now. And then one bad phone call put me over the edge. So I should have been more talking to myself, focusing on better things, but I didn't. And it took one thing just to push me over.
Yeah. And that was a mental breakdown, right? That we just
Right.
talked about? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of where. Okay, so talk to me about after the mental breakdown. What happened after that?
So right after the mental breakdown, I think this how I want to finish the story with that is I go back to my office. Um, I'm working and I'm seeing everybody in my office, not just waiting for the phone to ring. I'm not like screw this. I got a little momentum. I'm going to go out and figure out how to make this better. So I leave and I go start knocking on doors. Which the long story short is I end up becoming a land purchaser for a major developer, which once that started happening, that gave me a little bit more momentum going in the right direction, which um, once all that started happening, I call my wife and I go, I remember this phone conversation. I didn't even share this with you, so I'm excited. I call her and I'm like, baby, I'm starting to make good money. I know you're not completely happy with your job. And I'm driving in front of Walmart. I remember where I was. I'm like, I want you to quit your job and I want you to come work with me. And she's as sweet as could be. She goes, baby, that's so sweet, but you just don't make enough money for me to quit your job. And she said it in the nicest possible way, but I'm like, no way, no way. Like I'm making this happen. Like this is happening. She's going to
Yeah.
quit her job. So it was a while before she could get to the point where she did, but we're
Mhm.
starting to feel like, hey, this might go in the right direction. Let's grow our family. Let's do this. We still don't have a house. The first 2 kids we had, we lost everything. We were broke. We seen a couple dollars hit our account and not much by any means necessary. We're still broke, but we're crazy. Let's have a baby now. And we did. We did. Summer got pregnant, and so that was on a Wednesday. The very next day, we're in one of our rental homes, not that we own, but we're renting. And the state walks in. No. I'm sorry. I walk in, and the state's already there with my one niece and 2 nephews, and my wife's crying. And I'm like, this can't be good. Like I'm on cloud 9. We're having another baby. Things are starting to go good. Like, why is everybody crying? Don't be crying. What's happening? They're like, well, you know, these kids need a home, and if they don't, they're going to the state. And I'm like, the state? I mean, that's a big word. That sounds like a fun place. Like I'm excited for them. Why is everybody crying? They're like, no, it's actually awful. They separate them, and it's a bad thing. And I looked at my wife crying. I'm like, let's do it. Let's sign up for this. And it got tough after that. Like
Yeah.
for us, like we wanted this baby so much together and had to have our time together, and we didn't. Like these they weren't quite housebroken, the children, in the proper way. So, and we're in a 3-bedroom home now with 5 children, and my wife who's pregnant. So we had to move into a much bigger house, which cost us more money. That we're just now,
Right.
making enough to eat and everyone happy. We got to
Right.
go to a bigger house payment to have all these kids per state requirement and per our mental state, because you got to have all the bedrooms for these kids. I didn't
Yep.
ask for them, but you have to. So we had to grow through that. And we're in that house. Kids were with us for 9 months. We have the baby. My wife and I we were at our wits' end, just trying to keep everything afloat. The business. She's pregnant. I probably wasn't the nicest person in the world to be around at that point, and I hated it because I
Mhm.
love being positive, and if I could take it back again, I would be the sweetest husband to my wife being pregnant again, because we didn't get to enjoy that last one. We enjoy it now,
Right.
um, but it was a struggle for that. And then that's when things kind of start falling apart for me after the baby's born, because the um, the tenants are like, hey, you need to buy the house or get out. So I call our lender and like, hey, starting to make a little bit better money. Do I have 2 years approved enough to buy a house? And he said, you don't. You don't have enough to do it of the size of the house you need, for all the kids.
Right.
So more pressure. And about that time, there was so much pressure that I talked to a few people. They're like, you need to go try antidepressants. And this is big for me. And this is my opinion. This
Mhm.
is not for everyone. Antidepressants did nothing but make things worse for me. It does. I've talked to a lot of people because I'm open about my story. It does help people and gives them something. For me, I tried one for 3 days, literally driving down the highway, thought about pulling the wheel to throw me off the highway. I'm like, and that made
Right.
sense. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. This,
Yeah.
this, this is crap. So I go to the doctor and she's like, well, let's try this one. You didn't react well to that one. Let's try this one. Same effect. Felt really numb, was scared to actually talk to people, which is the complete opposite of what's inside me.
Mhm.
Um, and it terrified me. So I threw that one away too. And just feeling more lost because I'm talking to this doctor and she's like, you know, mental is like trying to give medication for mental is like throwing a dart down a dark hallway trying to hit a bullseye. You know, we don't really know what we're aiming for. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with whoever giving me anything ever again. Like I'll figure this out myself. And I
Good
did.
day.
Yes, absolutely. Let's not try anything else. But I did. I tried one more. She says, and people know this about me, which is fine. I embrace it now. I love it. I have ADD, which is awesome. People are scared of it. They don't embrace it. I get so many fun ideas in different directions. This is why I write everything down because it helps me out. My ADD is my biggest asset to me.
Mhm.
But they gave me Adderall. Um, and at that time, we had so much pressure from the tenant to buy the house that we couldn't afford. We had to leave our house. We bought a smaller house, the only house that we could afford, but it wasn't done yet. So we had to go to a hotel for 2 weeks until the house was done. I didn't have enough money at the time to put the down payment on the house. So we're in a hotel with not enough money to pay for the down payment. And they're like, hey, try Adderall. It's going to make you feel better. And in that hotel is where I literally speaking, felt hell on earth. Like 3 days of taking Adderall and I'm not sleeping. It just literally started making my body shake as I'm just standing there shaking. And it was, I know it was my nerves, but
Right.
I'm laying there and I can't, I sleep for 2 or 3 hours and my wife would, she'd rub my back and be like, it's going to be okay. My body would just convulse. It wouldn't stop it was a good solid week
Yeah.
of shaking. But in that week, my brother's has a wedding, and my brother's my best friend, like my partner in life that we've always done crazy stuff together. And he's getting married in Mexico. Now I can barely get out of bed because I feel so bad at this time, and my body's shaking, and my skin is literally crawling when I go to Mexico. It was
Oh.
like, I remember getting ready to get on the plane. I'm like, Summer, I can't do this. Like, I cannot make it on that plane. Like, I'm so freaked out right now. And she's like, we don't have to go. And it just voice in my head's like, you gotta go. It's your brother. So I did. I stepped into Mexico. And that's what I want to share with people. The day that I woke up in Mexico after being there, I went to sleep, woke up, this strongest feeling I've ever felt in my life of no longer wanting to live just hit me. I woke up and said, I don't want to live no more. I want to die right now. Now, I'm not taking any medications. I'm not taking any Adderall, any antidepressants. I'm not drinking. But it hit me and it laid on top of me in Mexico for the whole time. I got up from that first time that it hit me and I went for a walk for an hour and a half. I talked to my mom was there, my dad was there, my brothers. They're all like, it's going to be okay. My body's shaking uncontrollably. I could not find anything inside me to say I still want to live. It was terrifying. So mental health is a real thing, and I feel sorry for anybody that has ever felt that way. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just the pressure of everything that you felt for wanting to provide for your family and not being able to do that and falling down, getting back up, falling down, getting back up. It takes a toll on people. It obviously took a toll on you.
Yeah.
Um, so what happened after Mexico?
Okay. So we come back from Mexico. and my wife has a family vacation plan to Florida, um, with her mom and dad, or her dad and her stepmom, but we call her mom anyway, grandma. But anyway, so we go to Florida, and the feeling kind of let up of I don't want to die. I was still very uncomfortable, skin still crawling, I'm still shaking, but that feeling was like 4 or 5 days of just relentless. I just need to die. You know what I mean? No point.
Mhm.
It led up. I think we went to Florida. We come back. We close on our. I don't mean to say tiny house. Our littler house,
Mhm.
and we go to Florida immediately. And in Florida, I got this doom and gloom thing still. Not really happy. So my kids just light me up. I'm just gonna play in the ocean with my kids. There's a I think it was a purple flag. The the waves are so big, you're not supposed to be in there. I'm like, I'll be damned if I sit on the beach and think about how miserable I am. I'm getting in this ocean. So we get in the ocean, and I get to where, right behind me, if you go past that wave, you're gone. Like, it's sucking you out. Like, I can feel it. I can manage my body weight right here. I'm good. So as I got all four girls on rest. I mean, I'm sorry, all three girls. Our fourth was on the beach with Summer. Summer's holding our baby at the time, and a wave comes in and throws all the kids up, 100 feet from me or whatever it was. And I hear behind me this scream of "Help! I'm gonna die!" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" I turn around, met with this lady with these big eyes, and it looked like a shark was just pulling her out. So I'm like, "This she's being eaten," and she's 50 feet from me at this time. And as I realize she's in a rip current, not being eaten by a shark, I get a little more braver. So I turn around and I ask one of the kids to give me a raft. I run in, grab it, and I take off running out. And I see a guy, he's in front of me off to the right. He can get to her easily. And I'm like, "Hey, save her." He looks at me and said, "Nope." So I'm like, "Dude, this is it. I got to do this. It's game on." I jump right into that rip current. It sucked me right out to her. And it was just like, I hit her right as she's going under, like she's soaking, like everything's soaking wet, barely breathing. I
Right.
pull her from going down. We're deep now. Like, you look down, it's terrifying. Like,
Ugh.
shark stuff could happen at any moment. I'm like, "Lady, we got to get in right now." So I throw the tube around her, and I'm like, "If we kick, we can both get in. Let's go." So we start kicking. Nothing's happening. We go left, we go right, because I know if you swim a certain direction, and nothing's happening. And she just goes berserk. She's like, "We're gonna die. We need a lifeguard." I'm taking on water now. I don't have much body fat, so I sink very easily.
Mhm.
And she's got my raft. So I have to figure this out. She's like, "We need a lifeguard." And at that time, Summer comes flying. Like, all of a sudden I see, because she's got huge eyes, I see these big eyes coming across the waves, and I'm like, "Lady, there's a lifeguard right there. We're gonna be fine." So she kind of calms down, and Summer and we get this lady up on the beach, and there's a longer version of the story, but her husband's like, "Thank you," yada yada yada. And then my biological oldest daughter, Brooklyn, comes up, and she's a huge introvert.
Mhm.
And she's got to be knowing what's going on in my life with that. She's a very intelligent kid. We've always had a lot of open conversations, but she comes up as I walk this lady to her husband, and she grabs my hand, doesn't say a word. And it just got me. I'm like, there it is. There's something that I've been searching for. And I fully believe that, like, I was supposed to be there at that moment to save that lady. Like, through all my doom and gloom, like, that's where I was supposed to be.
Right.
No one will ever convince me, because she was dead. Like, if I wasn't there, this lady's dead.
Right.
My daughter seen it and loved me, and it just ignited something in me. I'm like, "I got this. I'm going to figure this out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And I know you talked about that story on Facebook, so it's
Yes.
clear that it was a life-changing moment for you.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. I'm holding back tears right now,
You're
because
doing good. You're doing good.
it was so, oh, it was so good for me. Complete changer. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming off that trip, how did life, did things start really changing then for you?
Absolutely not. I felt purpose again.
Mhm.
Uh, I felt like I had a direction again, and I'm going to give this a try. And I'm not a quitter, but there's when you get down for a long period of time, it's hard to find any hope, and I see that in a lot of people, and I hate it. That's why I want to share. Um, but no, we keep pushing forward. We're in that house, and I've shared this story on social media. I'm still suffering from panic attacks, which no one's ever seen me have a panic attack. I've probably had one in front of a lot of people's faces, but I kept it inside. Like I literally could have a panic attack in front of you, and you would have no idea. And I was having hundreds of them throughout, this time. So I'm still
Right.
having that. I'm still kind of depressed, but the depression's going away. Just the anxiety. I'm just trying to figure out how to get this thing narrowed down.
Mhm.
Uh, and then that led us to 2019, where business it started to get better for us. And I'm not trying to put my story on again. Money made things easier for me, but it was my guiding light to be able to have freedom with my family and kids. If I can provide for my family and they're happy, which I was trying to do in business, then I can hang out with them, and then everything's better at that point. So
Yeah. And that was always your goal. The goal wasn't the money. The goal was the security, the safety, the freedom, the peace of mind, everything. And if I may, I
yeah,
think the anxiety was coming from because anxiety comes from not knowing the future. You're always in the future. And that's exactly where you were. You were always thinking of your next steps of, am I going to sell this house today? Am I going to be able to do this, that, and the other for my family? Where
mhm,
are we going to be at in 3 weeks, a month, 2 months?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah. The
just lasted forever.
uncertainty was crazy, but that's why the boat metaphor is so important. Like I'm in my boat every day now, and this is what I wish I would have known back then. If I would, and this is what I do, I wake up every day. I thank God for letting me get up. And then I start immediately as I wake up, start being happy for what I have. That takes away all anxiety. Like I'm so happy of what I have. Like I don't need to just keep poking holes in my boats. Well, I'm not good enough, and this person doesn't like me, and I'll take on more water, which is anxiety. Like
Yep.
I feel the water on my boat, and that causes anxiety. All I can do is what I can control, and what I can control is the way I think. Believe it or not, it starts with me in the morning. Like this is how I want to feel for the day, and it took me some time to get that, but you're unstoppable. Not in business or anything, but in life. Like you'll just feel unstoppable once you just take care of your boat and stop worrying so much and poking holes everywhere.
Yeah. Do you feel that your mental health when did you have that revelation that you wanted to wake up and the mind shift change?
I I
Does it
love it.
happen overnight? Is it a snap of a finger?
I wish. I wish. If it was, I think somebody would corner the market and be like, "Hey, do this."
Right.
This is what you do. But for me, it was, and I still struggled all the way up until 2020. Um, they start building our new house, our dream home. And like I told you, by any definitions of sanity, this is crazy. Like you're in this new house, it's smaller than we needed. um it would sufficed, but hey, we're going to build our dream house, and there's no way possible. We don't have that kind of money to build this dream house, but we're already suffering. I thought to myself, let's just finish it off to get to where we need to go. Because if I settle right now in this house where I'm at, I know long term I'm not going to be happy. And I'll
Right.
poke holes in my boats again, back to the metaphor, and be like, hey, you could have did better in life, this, that. No regrets. Like I'm getting to this house. There would be enough room. It'd be everything we need in life. If I make it to this house, we got to go. And then COVID happens. I'm set on my goal to get this house. It's going to happen. So for 30 days during COVID, uh, nothing. Nobody wanted to buy a house. Everyone's terrified. They're scared to go outside. So I go to my lot that we have written on, in our subdivision, and I start pulling off honeysuckles off the lot. It's not mine. They could have kicked me off at any time. And if the COVID didn't let up, it wasn't gonna be my lot. I'm clearing this lot for somebody else, but I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. Some idea will come to me. And again, by the grace of God, people started coming out. And then the next 45 days, we made in what we made the previous year. In 45 days, my team, not just me and Summer, like us as a team, did what we did the whole previous year. So it just, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, because I'm like, I'm just going to keep going, and it's always going to work out. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt so bad, but, and it did. And it showed me that we could get the house. And then we get the house in August. And I remember the first morning walking through there, like, I thought this would feel better. Like, I'm here in my dream home with my dream wife and my dream kids, and I finally made it. I should be like, this is awesome. And there was a little bit of it, but it wasn't like, this is, I'm good now. I'm so happy. And then I went for a run, as I often do, and it just hit me like, I don't need to fight with myself anymore. Like, I fought with myself to keep pushing myself to get all these things, and I wasn't pleasant to myself at all. I wasn't focusing on that my wife's healthy, that my kids are healthy, that I have legs to go run, just anything, that I'm breathing right now. And that hit me, and I came home and I told my wife about it, and she's like, that's awesome. She's always cheering me on. That's great. Mm-hmm. And then, so that was in November, a couple months after we bought the house. It was 3 months in, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start focusing on this, what I have to be positive for. And I literally documented it, which I'm not a big documenter. In 9 days, in 9 freaking days, it completely changed my life, because I woke up, I said, thank you. I did the same thing for 9 days, and woke up, said, thank you, God, started focusing on things I'm positive. Yes. In those 9 days, can I cuss on this show?
Yep.
Okay. That little bitch voice inside your head kept saying, you're not good enough. You're not worth it. What if you lose everything and lose this house? What if you have another panic attack? What if you have a nervous breakdown? What if you're not good enough for a team? What if all these things? And all I did to shut all those voices up, to be completely satisfied in my boat, so to speak, I just literally, when they came in, I'm just like, I hear that voice. I used to yell at that voice. I mean, not like a crazy person in public, but I'd be at home and that voice would hit me, and I'd be like, shut the front door. I'm not listening to you. And I'd be arguing with it.
Yeah.
It's like arguing with a spoiled child. You're not going to get anywhere with it. You just have to talk to it. Hey, listen, I hear you're saying I'm not good enough. That is a voice inside of me that is real, but I'm so happy that I'm alive right now. I'm so happy that I have a wife. I'm so happy that I have a kid. I'm so happy that I'm living in the United States of America. Even though it's crazy right now, we're still not starving. We're still spoiled people as Americans, and we're in the greatest country ever. So there's never not something to be positive about. And that took me 9 days to do. Yes. So that was for me. It might work magically for some people, but I'd like to talk to those people.
Yeah. So is that what you did? You just wrote down for 9 days things you were grateful for, things that made you happy, that kind of thing?
I wrote down 9 days, my mood for those 9 days. And when that little bitch voice would come across, how long it lasted. Because usually when it came in, it'd last, I'd go to the gym. I go to the gym every day. I'd go to the gym. I'd feel good for a couple hours. And then after I get tired, little bitch voice would take over for the rest of the day. Like, I'm tired now, and I'm not good enough. And I'm just like, I tracked what time it was coming into my head. And then I realized I'm gonna own this thing. Like, it's me. I'm the captain of my own ship. I'm gonna take care of this thing, and I got it. Like, and once I started talking to it and training it, just like you train muscles, like, hey, I'm actually in control. I appreciate you being nervous right now. Like, that's awesome. That's a survival instinct that we get from cavemen. It's supposed to be there. Yep. It's not going away. It's your survival instinct. But if you let your survival instinct control you, you will live a very, very miserable life. I can guarantee. And I did.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience. It's miserable.
Yep. It's the anxiety, and you're so right. The survival instinct, because anxiety is just a fight or flight response. And what
Yes.
you've been doing this whole time is, what is attacking me? What's attacking my family? And even though
Yeah.
it's not real, actual physical things, it's
Yeah.
all these outside things that are doing that. And it just is a but that's really awesome that you logged when that voice would come into your head, because
Mhm.
it's thoughts. And I posted, I don't know how long ago, that I literally said out loud that I loved myself.
Yeah.
And it was like I had to say it out loud for the exact same reason that you did. So the
Yeah.
little bitch voice had to shut her down and say,
Yeah.
"No, that's not true. It is not true. Like, Melissa, you love yourself and that's okay." And I think it's so awesome that you wrote that down, like when the voice was coming up. And
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
that
Yeah.
could definitely work. Although mine talks way too much. I'd be writing 24/7.
Right. Well, you just reckon it once you recognize when it's coming into play and what environment you're in when it's coming into play. Like I talk in front of my team now, which I don't like public speaking. It
Mhm.
gives me high anxiety. Even talking in front of my team on our Tuesday meetings, I'm anxious before the thing. My voice inside my head is talking loud, but I'll sit there and calm it down before that meeting, and it's great. Like I get to express what's inside of me to them, and that's with any communication. If I can calm that voice down, it makes me happy because I just like making people happy, and I know that, and I couldn't do that with being stressed out. So that,
Right.
yeah, you gotta control that voice.
Yeah. So, one question I want to ask you, because as an entrepreneur, which is exactly what you are,
Mhm.
there are days, as you have just discussed, of really, really highs and
Mhm.
really, really lows. And that's definitely true for entrepreneurs. They're going to have their good and bad days. But I think what you, and I don't want to speak for you, but this is an approach that anybody can do. The approach that you're saying, the mind shift change, the positivity, the writing down whatever, that can change your life. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, whether you're a business owner or not, if you're in some kind of mental state of anxiety, depression, overwhelmed, this approach to the way you view life can really help. Is
Yeah.
is that how is that right? Kind of what you're
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely. And if people want to think more into it, because I've done so much research on the brain, I shared this story on social media too when I had my first panic attack, uh, and it was terrifying. So I went to search on how for this never to happen again, and how to better my brain. And the simple tool that I want to share with people is your RAS. It's your reticulating activating system. And the simple way to say it is, if you bought a new Chevy truck, because Chevy's the best, just in case some Ford listeners are listening, um, all of a sudden that Chevy truck that you bought, you will start seeing everywhere. And you've never seen it before anywhere. It is mind blowing. It's like, dude, how is the universe playing tricks on me like this? How is it putting this everywhere? But it's simple. Your brain is designed to look for what you tell it to look for in the world. So on my desk, I have a speech that I say to myself every time I come in here. I'm telling myself how to speak to myself, to my subconscious mind. Once it takes it in and understands that's what it needs to see, like seeing that new truck, you'll start seeing it everywhere in the world. Like if you want to be happier, tell yourself you want to be happier. And if you really want to be happier, you're gonna start seeing that in different places in the world. You're gonna have to block out the negativity because it's
Yeah.
everywhere, but you'll start seeing happiness everywhere, and you're like, oh, there's happiness over there. And don't be afraid to go attach yourself to it. That person's happy. Well, I want to go have a conversation with them and figure out why they're happy. I mean, be curious about it. But
Yeah.
the RAS is huge. And
Yep.
it's a real thing. I mean, you can Google it.
Yeah. It And some of this stuff just seems so simple. We talked about this also. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so simple. Just look for happiness And I think I'm excited that you are talking about it because you do come from such a place of depression and anxiety and panic attacks and nervous breakdowns that you can say, this is all I did.
Yep.
Now, medicine can help for people. I know it helps for people. Other things can help, but what you're saying, and I think it all being bundled together, um, is really going to make the difference. And as I think you will agree with me, this is not something that you can do just one day and it's going to be different. It is something that you have to work on
Yes.
every single day.
Absolutely. But you're gonna it's and like I tell my kids, it's consistent effort in the same direction. So, like you just said, some people will say, "Hey, I want to feel better. I'm trying to feel like this. I'm going to try this fad diet or this magic pill or whatever." And they try it for a couple of days and they quit because it doesn't work. You're not giving constant effort in a direction. And that's why my message of positivity, if you stay constant with your effort, define positivity and figure out what you're grateful for, it's going to grow. You just stay consistent with it, and it's going to become a strong muscle inside your brain that you can't help but see it everywhere. And then, I know I've said this a lot, in the boat, when you're in your boat and you're just floating around on the water knowing where you want to go, and somebody comes up in their boat and is not positive, because if you just go everywhere, it's hard to always be positive. If you go and you're positive and somebody comes up, and this is what I get a lot. Must be nice to be rich. Must be nice to have a nice house. Must be this. And what they're doing, and I see it, is they're trying to poke a hole in my boat because they're not managing their own boat. And I will help you with your boat because that's what I want to do. But if I feel like you're going to drown me, then I'm just going to take it somewhere else because I'm going to focus on what I need to focus on. I'll be damned if I'm on my deathbed thinking about how my neighbor thinks about me. That doesn't serve me. You know what I mean? Like, don't
Yep.
worry about what people think. Just find positive and use that tool in your life and grow it. And it's going to help you out. It helped me from a place that I didn't think was possible to come back from. So I know it can work for anyone.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that. You were talking about people coming over to your boat and poking holes. So
Yes.
when you did start getting your taste of success and what you defined as success, did friends, family, anybody start treating you differently, um, acting differently around you? What was that experience or experiences like for you?
Not family. Family knew my struggle because I opened up to very little people of how bad I actually was. Because if I would open up at the time and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," and you see me as a business person, why would I use that business person? You know what I mean? So I didn't. But my friends around me, in a close few, I would say, "Hey, I'm making this check right now. I'm real excited about it." And I don't know if it made them upset or not, but it made me feel uncomfortable because I felt like I was bragging. But the only thing I was doing is saying, "Hey, I'm not drowning as much as I was before. So this is really exciting for me. Look at this. Look what I'm doing." And in my line of work, the rewards are bigger than other jobs. So
Right.
it was a big reward. And people that get a reward on Friday and they see mine, like, well, that takes me a couple Fridays to get to, like, they could be thrown off by it. But all I was trying to do was say, "Hey, look, I can eat this month." And my good friends, it didn't affect, but people that weren't my good friends, I seen right through them very quickly. The jealousy, um, just yeah, I seen right. So it was a blessing for me,
Right.
to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't talk about money at all to anyone ever anymore,
Hmm.
except for my mom. I
Mom
call my
knows all.
Yep, I called my mom before this podcast and I read her my story and she's crying and I'm crying. I'm like, "I gotta get my shit together, Mom. I'm getting ready to talk." But yeah, I'll share with my mom because I don't want it to be. I want to spread positivity. I don't want it to be like, "Oh, that guy's positive because he's doing so well in business." When
Hmm.
it is just as simple as, I'm doing good because I changed my mindset. to think positive. And I was miserable when I had money coming in. I was
Right.
completely miserable. All I did was change my mindset in 9 days, and it completely changed the human being I am. And I'm impacting my kids in a better way, my wife in a better way, my friends in a better way, because I'm managing my own brain. And people want to be around somebody that's happy. I don't
Yeah.
know anyone that doesn't want to be around someone's happy. Unless you're so miserable you don't want to see someone, which is fine, then don't be around that person. I'll see that coming. If you're so miserable you don't want to be around me, I'm sorry that you're not happy, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And and one more thing, like, to get to that positivity level, I had a lot of people in my business, which I'll never name names, it's no big deal, that put knives so far in my back that it would have killed most people at the time that it happened. Like when I was struggling with all this depression, money, there was people that were close to me in this business that would take stabs at me
Hmm.
and try to take me out. And it bothered me so long for oh man. But one, it helped me grow my business to because I did it in spite of them. And two, once I realized that a person in a situation that stabbed someone in the back the way that these couple people did and knew what I was going through, I released the power of anger by giving them empathy by saying they must have been in a really bad spot. If they're going to take a stab at me when they know what I'm going through, they must have been even worse. So that message is you don't have any clue what anybody's going through whatsoever. If you get mad at someone, you don't know what's going on in their head. They may be struggling to stay alive right now, and you just got anger in your own heart at them, and it's really you're just angry at yourself because you don't understand what's going on. So anger is that helped me deal with anger is
Yeah.
other people are going through things and you have no clue. Just
Right.
stay again, throwing
Yep.
in your face, positive. Got to stay positive.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they might approach it a different way, like stabbing you in the back. But like you said, once
Yeah,
you broke it down and to help you get past it and not be angry, you had to know there's something going on with them way more than
yeah,
what's going on with me, and that's really unfortunate.
yep,
Um, okay, so something I do want to talk about since you obviously are a guy, and you are coming on here. I've already told you that I'm so happy that a man is coming on here to talk
yeah,
about mental health because it is very rare that that happens, that people want to open up. Um, is there any advice or tips that you could give men about kind of how your approach on life has been, if they are somehow resonating like, man, I do suffer from depression, and Tim's story is kind of similar to mine. What advice would you give to men specifically to help with their mental health and depression, anxiety, whatever it is?
yeah. um so guys, we have an ego. It's what helped us survive out of caves. It's what us helped kill saber-tooth tigers, woolly mammoths, all this stuff. It's strong inside, guys, and I hear it all day long. But it also beats you into a corner and doesn't let you experience life the way you're supposed to feel it. You're not in a cave anymore. It's not fight or flight. You're living. Just communicate and realize, and don't be so hard on yourself would be my thing. The ego is going to make you feel like you have to be the best. I have to do this for my family, and as my story tells, I have to do this. My ego was so strong. I had to do this. If I would have just communicated more, which is what I think guys should do, is learn to communicate more. It's gonna make you feel better. Guys, we often wonder, hey, I don't know what my wife is thinking. I have no idea. Who knows what a woman's thinking? We're the same thing. Like, it's inside you. Just because it's inside you doesn't mean your wife or the world knows what's going on in there. And if you don't let it out, they're gonna have no clue. You might think they know. Oh, I'm mad at that guy because he didn't come over and do this. Well, did you say something? No, he just should have known. Now you sound like you're just being a little weird here. So you have to let the ego go. And for me, it's as simple as you live once. Like, connect, let it go, calm down. Nothing's bad's going to happen when you go have a conversation with someone. It's going to be a little uncomfortable at first when you try to let what's out inside out and feel, but it's going to make you stronger. So
Yeah. And oftentimes people think that being vulnerable and opening up is a sign of weakness, and it really isn't. I think Tim,
yep,
you'll probably agree, but it isn't. It's a sign of courage, actually. And when people, especially men, open up and they say, something's wrong or I'm feeling this way, we see that it's not easy for those words to come out of their
yes,
mouth. And
yes,
it's almost like a smack in the face. It's like, okay, something's definitely going on. A man is saying he is not okay.
yeah,
We got to pay attention, and things will just shift. There's been stuff that Brandon has came to me and been very vulnerable about, and that took our relationship to a completely different level of that, and not the hard shell that's usually around guys.
right,
And
right. Yeah, it's brought me and my wife so close for me just to be able to talk to her
yep,
about what's going on inside of me. Because, like I just explained to the guys out there, I would think my wife should know what's going on inside of me. We've been together for so long. How come she doesn't know that? And I'd get a little angry. I'm like, she should know better. She should know that she should have gave me a hug before she left, or whatever, something silly
right.
like that. But she doesn't know. Like, when she's walking out that door, hey, give me a hug before you leave. What are you doing? Like, you gonna leave without saying bye? Come on, like, say it. Don't hold on to anger. Just get it out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm scrolling to see what other
I'm a
okay,
water. I'm a
yeah,
water when we do this.
go for it. So, is there, I mean, I do have a couple more questions for you, but I just wanted to ask if there's anything else you want to add. I literally was going to just have the advice you would give for people that feel stuck or hopeless, what the bright side of life means to you, and then I also wanted to ask, like, what made you open up about your own struggles.
Okay.
Besides those.
So I do want to talk about um, the end of the story that I sent you. Um, so in 2012, when I fell to my knees and asked God for help, what's really, really cool, and this is really what I want to share, this is a big message I want to share. In 2012, when I asked him to help me, he said, sure, I'm going to help you. Right. But I didn't see it that way. I had to change from who I was in 2012 to who I needed to be in 2021 to receive the blessings. I asked for help, but I wasn't the person that I was supposed to be by any means. If he would have gave me the blessings that I asked for in 2012, I wouldn't be able to have, one, the impact. Two, I would not be the person that I am as a dad, as a husband, as a friend. Like, I asked him, and he goes, we're gonna make this happen. Not literally a voice coming from the
Right.
sky, but now that I look back at it, it's like, we're gonna change. Like, it's gonna hurt. And I cussed him out a lot during the process. You no good son of a, you're supposed to help me out. Where are you? This, that, and the other. And it's I am who I'm supposed to be, and I am who I asked for him to make me. So if you ask to be a better person, whether it's the God, universe, or the law of attractions, which are all very real things to me, it's gonna happen. But you better buckle up, because you might not be the person you're supposed to be to receive those things. And just know it's gonna happen. And there's gonna be some growth there. And anytime there's growth, whether you grow from a young person to your muscles, it hurts a little bit. So just as long as you keep that positive mind, I'm going through this. This is hurting. I asked for it. It's going to work out. This is great. You're going to get it. So that was the cap to my story. Like, I asked for it and I got it. And it hurt, and all those anxiety, depressions, nervous breakdowns. Everything was a part of my growth process to get to where I am, to be the person that I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
And I didn't cry yet. So
I
we're
know.
doing so good.
Like, we'll be done with the podcast and you'll just like start bursting into tears. You're like, oh, it's done.
I probably will. I probably will. No joke.
Yeah. So, okay. And I know this whole podcast has been advice to people, but if you could give just a couple sentences or whatever it is, what advice sticks out to you the most to give to people that might feel stuck, might feel hopeless? They're entrepreneurs. They feel like they can't get anywhere. They can't gain any traction. What advice would you give to people like that?
So, and I actually give this out a lot. There's a couple things. One, you're in your boat, again, metaphorically speaking. Where are you going? You know what I mean? Take some time and search your soul. Go for a walk, go for a run. Don't ask anyone else, hey, where do you think I should go? That's not their soul. It's not their reason to tell you where you need to go. Figure out where you want to go. Get very, very defiant. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for.
Very, specific? Very
specific. Oh, I like that word. Very, very specific about it. And once you know where you're going, just trust the process. Ask whomever you want. Hey, this is the direction I want to go. And this is the long version, but start writing things down. Like for me, on my nightstand, I have my goal sheet and I look at it all the time. It's always inside my brain to kind of keep me driven in the same path. But someone that's someone that's struggling right now. And that's kind of what got me to open up. If you want me to go into that door,
yeah, go ahead.
So a friend of mine reached out and said that they were struggling and it was bad. And the advice that I gave them, and since then I've had a few of them since I started sharing, but the advice that I give them, since if you're struggling right now as you're watching this video, you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to start the change. It's probably not going to happen. What is it? 11 o'clock. You're probably not going to change your life today. Okay. It's probably going to be a little rough of a day. You're getting prepared for tomorrow. So here's how it works. You're going to wake up tomorrow. And Les Brown said this: when you wake up in the morning, your brain beats at like 10.5 wave cycles per second. Okay. It's starting to tell itself who it is and what it's going to do for today. So you're starting to tell your story as you wake up in the morning. So what I told my friends who are suffering, when you wake up immediately, and this worked for me tremendously, I would go to my TV and I would turn on YouTube. And there's these little 10-minute videos, and it's on Motiversity if people want to look it up. And it's just 10 minutes of entrepreneurial speakers saying the most positive things ever. I mean, Les Brown, Ed Mylett, Jim Rome, and they get you. It's like watching a Rocky movie. Like they get you fired up for life so much. Like, yeah, I am a good person. Yeah, I can do this in life. Yeah, I don't want to live with regrets. And that would be my biggest advice right now. If you're suffering, make sure when you get up in the morning, don't pressure yourself. Don't watch this video and be like, it didn't work. I'm still miserable. It's not going to work right away. But after you watch that video, you're going to feel some fire underneath your ass. You're like, I'm excited right now. And don't wait for the bitch voice to come in. It's going to come in. It's going to come in, and you're just going to talk to it at that point. But at least you're setting up a routine where you're getting up and you're getting yourself primed for the day and headed in the right direction. That's going to get you starting to feel positive. Yes, it's going to take days, maybe weeks, maybe months to keep this going, but there will be a point where this routine is so good for you that you're like me. You cannot help but smile. I just want to see people and just make them laugh now, like make them smile. I can't help it. Somebody starts going negative, I'll flip it on them and be like, well, what about this? What about this? Even if it's as basic as you're alive right now, that's awesome. Well, I wish I wasn't. Well, we need to work on that. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying routines in the morning, if you're suffering right now, will be tremendous for any human being. It will grow your mind in a positive way.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, so for me being such, unfortunately, I am a pessimistic person. I told you this. It's very hard. I think it comes from past experiences, whatever, but it's almost scary. It's almost scary because you've told yourself for so long that you're not enough or you don't love yourself that
Yeah.
thinking and going to do those actions that's going to create good,
Yeah.
it's almost like you convince yourself that I can't see that because I'm not good enough. I don't deserve happiness. And those will be the voices that already start. And you just, like you said, you just have to turn on the TV. You got to watch some motivational videos. Another thing, like I said, write down just things that you're grateful for that will make you appreciate life.
Absolutely.
Or, I mean, it could be the warm cup of coffee that you get to have before you head off to your work week.
I agree with coffee. I do. I'm a more coffee guy for
Yeah.
sure. Coffee.
Just those little steps and then creating the habits, like you said, almost a challenge for people. Try it for 7 days.
Right.
See what happens.
What do you have to lose? You're gonna feel better.
Right.
It's not gonna be lasting. I think Jim Rome said that motivation doesn't happen every day, but neither does showering. That's why you have to do it every day. You have to keep doing it, and it's gonna work. Like one of the biggest things that works for me, and I tell people this all the time, like when I tell them my story, how'd you get through it? Reading. They're like, well, I don't want to read. That's boring. Okay, do you not want to read and still suffer, or would you rather try something new that hasn't worked for you? Like I'm telling you, reading was huge for me. I read, and I'm giving this out. I'm not physically giving this out, but I'm giving this information out. The book Can't Hurt Me. It changed my life. Like it just was so inspirational. And again, with my ADD, starting to read a book was so difficult for me. But I broke it down to where, and I got this off a challenge. I read 10 pages every single day of my life, just 10 pages. If it's midnight and I haven't went to bed, I still have to read 10 pages. It slows my mind down. It teaches me how to talk to myself, and I'm getting inspired by other people's stories. I won't read a boring book. I'm not wasting my time.
Right.
But I read things that inspire me and motivate me, and I'm putting that into my brain. And it's huge. So I'll give this to people, this trick, and they're like, I hate reading. I never was a good reader. I don't want to do that. Well, I'm watching you in your boat poking another hole saying, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. There's no way I could read. Well, I'm telling you, like I'm trying to pat your boat right now and say, dude, this is going to keep your boat higher out of the water, and you're not going to hit so many waves. It's going to be great for you. Just try it. I promise it works. So that's another tip that I suggest is reading. It's difficult. Trust me.
And if you don't want to do reading, because sometimes if you're Audible, any kind of audio books, you can listen in your car when you're running, when you're working out. So technically I, could read 20 books in 20 days if I wanted to. If you don't, no, I don't usually do. It's weird. I go in and out of like wanting to listen and wanting to read.
Yes.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. What made you want to come on here and share your own personal stories of struggles to share with the world?
Two reasons. One, when that friend reached out to me, and then multiple friends started. And again, I'll never say anything about anyone ever struggling. So if you're ever struggling and you need someone to talk to that's positive, just call me. I'll come help you out. Is the best I can. But that made me want to talk about it. And two, people do perceive me as, oh, he's successful. It must be nice. And I want them to understand, one, that it wasn't always nice. And two, you're judging me, and you might be judging the whole world that way. You're missing out on a lot of stuff. Like you don't know my story. You're just saying, hell, it must be nice. And that's all around you. Open your eyes. There's people, oh, that person's tall, or that person's in great shape, or that person's pretty. You don't know. Like I want people to just expand their worlds and start talking to people and stop judging. It's never going to happen. Stop judging, but stop being so judgmental, because when you're super judgmental, you're only hurting yourself. Like, learn, talk to people. So that I wanted to come on here just to get people to open up to the world. And it's amazing when you do that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Tim, I have one more question for you. The famous question. In your own words, what does the bright side of life mean to you?
The bright side of life mean to me. Just simple, everything we've talked about. The bright side is just to find the positive in life, to always look for what you have to be grateful for. I mean, there's so many things. If you can't find something, find someone who can tell you something to be positive about. And again, reach out to me. We'll have a conversation in 5 seconds. I'll tell you something before you ask me, because there's so many things. We're having a conversation on the phone. You should be positive about that. Some people can't hear. Some people can't talk. So the brighter side to me is just focus on what you have to be happy for.
Yes, that is great. Tim, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add before we go?
Nope. Like I said, you're an amazing human being, and I can't wait to see how your journey progresses. And I'm so excited that even after this, like, you're going to be in my life, because you're a great human being and you're doing good things. And I want to talk to you more, you and Brandon. I mean, all the time. I mean, you're doing really big things. So
well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. And thank you for coming on here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Bright Side of Life. I hope you guys enjoyed Tim's story. I personally get excited when a guy comes on my podcast, because I know there are men that listen to my podcast, and I think it's beneficial for men to obviously hear other men that do struggle with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and you guys aren't alone. So thank you, Tim, once again for coming on here to share your story. And as always, if you guys know anybody that needs to hear his story, please share it with them, because we never know if this is the one that puts hope back in their heart.